You're what?
Good to go. I'd like to call the regular meeting of council of August 14th, 2024 to order at 6 o'clock. Pardon me, I'm sorry, it's 5 o'clock.
Be it hereby resolved that council moves in camera at 5 p.m. to discuss personnel matters, and further be it resolved that any matters discussed while in camera be held confidential until such time as an open council.
May I mover, please? Councillor Hall. Seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jody.
I'm just gonna get you guys. have to double check audio, but we should be good. Oh, I think we're good now.
Be it resolved that council moves out of camera at 6 p.m. and resumes the regular meeting of council.
I'd like to start with the land acknowledgement.
Mover.
Mover, please. Councillor Jarvis, seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski, all in favor? Like that. Okay, sorry. I'd like to start with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that the town of Winnipeg Beach is located on First Nations Treaty 1 territory, the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Oji-Cree, the Dene, and the Dakota people, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties on these territories. We dedicate ourselves to move forward with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration to make Manitoba an inclusive and accessible place for everyone who lives here. And before we move forward with the meeting of council, I'd like to remind everybody in the gallery to refrain from conversations or other behaviors that might disrupt council proceedings. You also might notice that Councillor Kozlowski from time to time might be on his cell phone. He's not being rude, he's simply adjusting his hearing aids.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the August 14th, 2024 regular meeting of council be approved as per the following additions, deletions. Addition, EV charger report. Addition, in-camera personnel. Addition, deputy mayor appointment. Addition, tax overpayment refund request, roll number 161500. Deletion, Good News Corner.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Kozlowski. Seconder, please. Councillor Houle. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that the minutes of the July 24th, 2024 regular meeting and the minutes of the August 6th, 2024 special meeting be approved as circulated.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Houle. Seconder, please. Councillor Jarvis. I trust everybody had an opportunity to review both the minutes of the 24th and August the 6th. Councillor Jarvis.
There were 10.3 on that meeting. There was a tricky
Which meeting?
concern.
Which meeting?
July 24th.
July 24th?
Isn't that what we're talking about?
Oh, we're talking about both meetings. The 24th and August the 6th.
Yeah, 24th, 10.3 tripping concerns. It was moved to the parking meeting. It was never discussed unless I missed that.
There hadn't been another parking meeting that was held?
The special meeting that we had was supposed to be on that one, I thought.
Was the traffic bylaw, was the
Yeah.
special meeting?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was supposed to be moved. I could be wrong. But anyways, we never did talk about that. And while we're on it, 10.4 was a sitting bench. And we passed a resolution to put a sitting bench in the food cupboard. Are we still doing that?
At this point, although that council authorized the improvements of painting and placement of a sitting bench in the food cupboard area, and under the current circumstance, it has yet to be determined if those two items will still be standing.
Okay. So should we put the tripping concern on the next meeting? It was never resolved.
No, it was never resolved, and that was a meeting I wasn't at. Councillor Gendron.
If memory serves me correctly, we discussed that it's actually to do with the patio licensing, but that, yes, we were gonna at least discuss it at the parking meeting. I don't believe actually the traffic bylaw, we're not complete with that discussion, so perhaps we can just be assured that we slip it into a bit of a discussion when we're on that topic earlier tonight or later tonight.
Sure.
Yeah, we are talking or trying to finish the parking bylaw today.
Okay. That's all.
Any other questions, comments, or points of discussion about the minutes of the meetings? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried.
Be it resolved that council approve the July 2024 financial statement as provided.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Everybody have a chance to look at the financials? Questions, comments, points of discussion? No? Good, all in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council approves the accounts payable listing being check number 23239 to number 23310, inclusive of checks, electronic payments, and payroll issued in the amount of $184,442.37 as circulated.
May I mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. Any questions, comments about payables? Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Unfinished business account payable inquiry number, check number 23230. Further clarification, it was regarding an email that the town received regarding a defamation letter. This was a charge that incurred as the CAO once received any documentation from a legal department. It is prudent to forward it to our own legal department for review and advice, and that's what that payment was for.
Thank you.
Traffic bylaw 9-2017.
Okay, folks. So at our last meeting, our special meeting, we were working through the traffic bylaw. We got as far as, I believe we completed page 11. That's my recollection. Is that other people's recollections?
Yeah, we were going into the schedules, I think.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Schedule A. Yes, Sharon.
So Schedule A, at this point, because there's still another fees associated with it through MBNA, that I think that prudent, there is still additional discussions about other parking and fees associated with it that is not on this agenda, that I suggest that until we determine what we do want to be charging for infractions, to not address it at this point.
Okay. So we'll table Schedule A?
Well, I think that once we've received a level of where the new bylaw will be, those fees, the fees associated with this is determined through our municipal bylaw, through the Enforcement Act bylaw,
Yeah.
which indicates the fees. And so although we can look through this, there may be, I think that at this time, because although we have mentioned about areas of parking, there was still parking in its entirety at that point, hasn't been firmly confirmed that these are the only spaces and what we're doing.
That's
So
right.
we have, because these were just recommendations that were brought forward. There is no new bylaw, so until you have a draft bylaw for your traffic bylaw, that's when you start looking at your schedules. And because this is more of a bylaw enforcement piece, it's really not conducive for council, not saying it's not conducive for council discussion, but it's not part of where council would focus energy on that. That's more of an administrative, getting a form in place.
Yep. Schedule B is the agreement to operate parking spaces. Schedule B.
The request for screening?
No,
That's part of.
that's part of Schedule
Oh,
A.
thank you, that was why what you
So we're just
just
going
said,
to
Madam Mayor,
Schedule
wasn't
B.
making sense to me, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So this is the schedule where a business can request permission from the town to operate for the purpose of customer parking. The following section of municipal property. So that's where a business can ask permission of council to put parking signs in front of their business. And so everybody had an opportunity to read Schedule B. And what are your thoughts on it? Councillor Gendron?
I'm just wondering if, well, there might be some discussion now, if we could also maybe take a look at this when we're looking at 15-minute parking in front of businesses. And my thinking being, okay, if they want 15-minute parking in front of their business and we're allowing it, if it's done through an agreement and then them considering it as parking for their business, then they would be responsible for the signage and not us. So just to offset some of the costs associated with. So maybe just keep that in the back of your brain later when we're talking about the 15-minute parking sign places, okay? Because I'm just thinking, I mean, the cost for signage is exorbitant.
Yes.
And if a business is requesting 15-minute parking in front of their place, perhaps instead of us just bearing the cost, if we agree, us bearing the cost of the signage, instead it becomes an agreement and they're responsible for the cost of signage.
Well, that's what Schedule B says, or at least that's my reading of it. It is further agreed that proper signage be erected by the Public Works Foreman of the Town of Winnipeg Beach, or cause to be placed or maintained, and then the associated cost be appropriately charged back to the said business.
Right, but right now, any of those 15-minute parking signs that are designated on the streets, the town has covered those costs.
Right.
So I'm just saying if we could keep this
Okay.
agreement in mind when we're talking about 15-minute parking spaces.
So, Sharon?
Yeah, so when we looked at item 9.6, the wording under council direction was to be changed where they may make application.
That's right.
And so when we're looking at the wordings of may make application, it was yet to determine what criteria would be approved, what criteria would be not approved, right? Like there was still work to be done, like we made a lot of headway with revising that, but when we say may make application to council, still looking at an application form has not been created at this point, right? And stating that it was not transferable to change of ownership, right? So that was a word, the changing in that particular clause that council was looking at. And so this schedule is really all about that particular clause in 9.6. And so there's still work to be done, like once the draft bylaw is there, what does that process look like?
So we'll need to put Schedule B on hold until we can see the draft bylaw and then see where we need to go with that, if anywhere. Councillor Jarvis?
Yeah, I think I'm just confirming what the CAO said, but I thought that whole 9.6 was completely under review.
It is.
Because I have it,
Correct.
yeah,
Me too.
so that we had to
So
find.
yeah, let's wait until 9.6. Let's wait until we have the draft bylaw in place, and then we can look at A and B, Schedule A and B. What about Schedule C, folks? Now, this has got a few issues in it. Councillor Jarvis?
Are we gonna talk under regulate traffic one way? I have some concerns with all of that. Even Laurel, even Prospect, even Prospect between Ash and Park. You know, and we've got a lot of one-ways, and I know there's time frames involved in it, but we've got a lot of people now that are moving building permanent residences now, especially even in that area. There's 4 new houses on the block of Ash and Oak. And it's, you know, like for the summer, you're asking people to drive around the block to get to their own house, you know what I mean? So I have problems with the one-way, so I think we should be two-way everywhere, two-way traffic.
Okay, what do other people think? Just in terms of some history, Laurel Avenue was designed, or was signed a one-way to allow for traffic to come off the highway down to the marina. And that's why Laurel Avenue in my recollection, was made a one-way. Ash was made a one-way from Grove to Prospect because of the one-way on Prospect,
Correct.
from Ash to Park. I'm of the belief that we should keep the one-way on Prospect from Ash to Park during the summer, from June 1st, July 31st, and keep Ash one-way as well. Just because, I mean, historically, it's been going on for decades that lots of people and tricycles and families and wheelchairs and carriages and all those kinds of things, that's a huge walking place for folks. And so keeping it one way, I was actually going to suggest that we actually have no car traffic from Ash to Park on Prospect for those 2 months, but that might be a bit much. People on Prospect who live in those blocks have back lanes, and their places are easily accessible through back lanes. None of them have front driveways, and they probably mostly access their houses through the back lanes. There's no parking allowed there between Ash and Park anyways, so people would not be accessing their house by driving down Prospect and parking on Prospect to get into their house. They would be driving down the back lane to get into their houses. And I think that for safety reasons and to keep some of the historical use of Prospect in Winnipeg Beach, that we should leave that one way. Or
What about,
no traffic from Councillor Kozlowski.
Yeah, I know with Prospect, when the fireworks are going off, that street on both sides of Prospect are filled with cars.
Yes,
That could
that
be a
is
problem
true.
if, you know.
That is true. What do other people think about Prospect?
I agree with what you said.
Yeah,
Yep.
can't keep it there. Now, Councillor Gendron, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, sorry. Councillor Hall, did you mean you agreed with the leaving it there or the remove, like no traffic at all?
I agree with just leaving it the way
Yeah.
it is.
The one-
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, and so do I. I was just wanting to clarify, sorry. Yeah, no, I think we need, leaving it is a good idea.
Okay. Now, one of my questions though is, where is it? Prospect from 10th to 9th. And it's been one way north to south, and I can't for the life of me ever remember why that happened. Does anybody at this table have any information? Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, I live just down, a few places down from there. There was a request by a resident in that strip. But when you look at the logical flow of traffic, it would have made sense to just keep the one-way going north, because that's where the cars are going. It didn't make a lot of sense at the time to make it one-way coming the other way. And I will certainly agree with the communication we got from a resident in the area. The people that live, there was a lot of traffic going in the wrong direction for people that either live on that strip or are visiting people there.
So why does it need to be a one-way at all? Why can't it just be two-way?
It is narrow. I don't know what, I don't think it's wide enough for two cars. Yeah, so it does need to be a one-way from that aspect.
Because of the width.
Yeah,
Councillor Kozlowski?
Yeah, it is very narrow. I went down there today. You can't get two vehicles down there at the same time. It should go north, from south to north, continue on Prospect all the way north, instead of going down that last, I guess it's 10th, and then coming around to the highway, making a right turn and coming southbound. So it should just directly flow north right from Prospect all the way.
Okay. Councillor Bull, Councillor Jarvis?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm okay.
And this says one-way south to north.
North
No,
to
no, no, it's
south.
north to south.
But council's suggesting changing it from south to north. Okay.
it just follows the natural flow of traffic better.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't recall a firm decision on Laurel Avenue.
Right. I just said that Laurel Avenue has always been that. But there's been a debate because Laurel Avenue was made a one-way to accommodate people going to the marina with their boats, but then there was conversation years ago about stopping people from using Laurel Avenue for their boats because it's just a gravel road and probably not conducive to that kind of traffic. And we should direct all boat traffic to go down Park and Park only. So that's been something that's changed around a lot over the last couple of decades. What do people here think? Councillor Jarvis.
I think we should have proper signage on north and south on Highway 9 for where the boats and even the trailers should go. Because they're going anywhere they want to right now. Some of these roads, and you're right, Park is paved and 7th is paved, and there's a lot of these roads, especially in the spring, and they are using Laurel.
I know
And they're coming through there and they're bringing boats and all kinds of stuff. And
Yeah,
it's not necessarily safe. All we need is a heavy rain and it can wash out the basin on Laurel. So we need proper signage up where the boats and the trailers should go, big signs
big signs.
that they can see.
On Park?
On Highway 9, it said all RV traffic, all boat and trailer traffic, please use Park.
Are we allowed to put up a sign on Provincial Highway?
I believe there's,
There are some
there's
signs, but they're,
application that you
Okay.
can't make application to place signs.
Okay, Councillor
Yeah, I
Pagels?
believe there's a sign there right now on Laurel, right on the highway. It says for boats and trailers to move out here.
I know, and I'm not sure why previous councils wanted Laurel to be used for boats and trailers.
Closest to the marina, I guess. Yeah, go straight down Laurel.
Yeah. Councillor Gendron?
And then we also have, just adding to the problem, is that we have the correspondence that was
Maple.
submitted in 2023 by Arnie regarding Maple, and that the traffic's always been bad on Maple due to boaters, fishermen, and day trippers driving to the marina and the beach. It's also one of the busiest foot traffic streets due to the trailer park residents and other walking to the beach at the end of the street. This has been very dangerous for pedestrians, particularly when drivers are going 30 miles an hour down the street. It's probably kilometers. It's a conflict that needs to be resolved, and I and other residents would like to see the change. They're looking at us considering making Maple a one-way and questioning why Laurel is.
A one-way going the opposite way, going east to west, so that boat traffic can't come down from west to east.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll take Laurel.
This is all about, I mean, if we could control the boat and trailer traffic, then we could have all of our streets being two-way, eh? Because this is just to accommodate the boats and trailers.
What about a speed reduced 15 kilometers on that street down Maple? Really possibility, instead of 30 like they suggest.
What do other people think? Councillor Jeff?
Sorry, just a question, Councilor Kozlowski, are you suggesting the reduced speed as opposed to the one-way?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a means of trying to control.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if someone's going faster than that, how are you gonna control the rate? There's no bylaw officers around.
It's a traffic,
You know,
yeah,
it's
it's
they'll do what they want, simple as that.
Councillor Jarvis?
I still think we need to have some sort of directional signs for people that are pulling these things, because even now in Churchill, when you come out at Ash and Highway 9 and Churchill, I see people all the time coming from the trailer park and they go up Robinson, they turn right on Churchill, and then they try to swing 40-foot trailers around that intersection. And it's you cut off Ash, literally. And if you can't, if somebody's making a left-hand turn going west on Ash, and they're waiting for traffic, that whole intersection now is gridlocked, because you've got some guy with a 3/4 ton pulling a 40-foot trailer and he's blocking off the whole road. So we need to have designated roads for these trailers and these boats and boat trailers to go on.
How about if we put a pile of energy into getting all boats and trailers going to the marina, only coming down Park?
I thought
Not
that's,
allowing them on Laurel, not allowing them on Maple. Because that resolves the problem in terms of pedestrians and too much traffic and people getting hurt and speed limit and everything else. Councillor Gendron?
I did notice one of our signs says, please use. So really, it's not sounding like I have to go over to Park if your sign says, please use Park.
You're
back
suggesting
to-
we shouldn't be so
We
blatant?
shouldn't be so, we shouldn't, it needs to be a little, as
Yeah.
Councillor Jarvis said, signage that is, yeah.
No trucks and boats allowed? Councillor, I'm sorry, Sharon?
Counselor,
Yeah. So I guess the only when we look at enforcement from an administrative perspective and we're looking at not having boats or trailers on these other roads, from an enforcement perspective, what about the property owners that may own boats and trailers and they're driving down these roads? So if we're looking at enforcement to a point that you want to have enforcement to have these designated routes for boat launch, I would assume there's some sort of penalty or fine associated with that. And so then
Yeah.
the question comes to play of passing designated routes for boats only for private property owners.
couldn't the sign say non-resident?
Councillor Gendon?
Local access only for boats and trailers, is what the sign says. Then if you are on that street and you're a boat owner,
Yep.
or you have a trailer, you have access, but the general public doesn't.
Councillor Jarvis?
Because we even have now with the trailer park, we have, and I don't know the gross vehicle weight on some of these bus type RVs. I'm gonna go into like 30,000 pounds, you know, they're coming down some of these roads.
I know.
And the roads are prorated, unless I'm mistaken, for about 6 tons. And we've got 10 tons coming down a 6-ton road.
So in
Okay.
order for this bylaw to, in order for this bylaw to be effective in that, it would be prudent if we are looking at having some level of traffic control, that we would be attaching a map that clearly indicates the routes of traffic control in the bylaw.
Yep.
So that would be like a Schedule D or.
Schedule D, that's a good idea.
Okay.
And so then should we make Robinson the only access road for the trailer park?
I believe that, is it provincial signage that's up there directing which way to come?
Somebody knocked it down about 5 years ago, so,
Oh.
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
Somebody drove into it.
Oh, I'm so
non-existent.
observant, I don't.
Probably an
have a
RV.
motorhome. Yeah.
And I believe the intent was to go down
Still.
Stitt to Hamilton.
Yeah,
Okay.
Robinson was
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, that was the intent, because they can't turn the corner with the big RVs if there's cars parked in front of the Breakwater Cafe.
Right.
Anything down there that's parked at Robinson and Main, they can't swing those trailers around.
Right.
And I've seen them go over the
So
curb
we
and
need to
everything.
get, we need to get new signage up to direct them. Councillor Kozlowski?
What about going down Kernstead from 9 down Kernstead, going east?
Because that gate's not open.
Can they not open? It's
So-
the province that owns it, right?
They can't
And
swing.
it's there, it's
Yeah,
their
we
park.
talked to them about
Yeah.
that. Sharon, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we did have discussions with the parks in reference to that, and at the time of designing the trailer, or the campground, it actually was the provincial park's preference to have the entry to the provincial, like to the campground on Kernstead. It was council of the day that decided they wanted the traffic trailer to come through town. And so as a result, the provincial park changed their construction site to be conducive where the office, where you would need your permits and everything, are at point of entry. And so now the provincial park is saying, having entry in off of Kernstead from number 9, they're not willing to look at relocate. It doesn't make working operations for them, like it doesn't make sense for the working operations, because the actual office now, the campground office, to get your tags, to get your information, to do all that, is right across the whole campground now. So certainly I agree, it makes
Yep.
most sense to have this big vehicle traffic away from your downtown core. However, that decision was made at the time
Previous council.
of construction, and so now we have to live with it.
Yeah. The only reason why they still have that gate there on the Kernstead end is for a point of second egress if necessary. Councillor Jarvis.
The sign that Councillor Gendron was referring to, the one that was torn down, the park should replace that. That was their signage. Turn right on Stitt, right? And so we can't help them how they get to Robinson, but when they get to Robinson and they're
Yeah.
on there, they have to turn right at Stitt. And
Okay.
the province, that was their signage. They should be responsible for that.
Yep.
It's their park.
Okay. So the next number of clauses in Schedule C is regulating the Winnipeg Beach Community Center, the reduced school zones. Anybody have any difficulty with either of those? Sharon?
The reduced speed school, like the school zone is under its own separate bylaw, so it
Oh, that's right.
should be removed.
It should be
from
removed,
this.
yes. Okay,
And sorry, as well as like any reduced speeds has to be its own
Own bylaw.
bylaw, like and which council does have, so listing it here and having its own separate bylaw
Doesn't make
is,
sense.
it doesn't make sense, so, and anything in reference to the reduced speeds should be removed from the traffic bylaw, and if council wants to review the existing reduced speed zone bylaw, you can review that and make the amendments accordingly in that bylaw, because that's the bylaw the province requires.
okay. We then have Main Street parking. 2-hour parking 9 to 6 from June 1st through August 31st. Councillor Jarvis?
Again, no parking signs whatsoever on the west side of Main Street. They have to be put back up. They've been taken down for 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
Reinstalled.
Now, we have the next section, which is the time limits. 15 minutes in front of the post office, in front of Park Place, in front of administrative offices, in front of Ford's Groceries, what used to be called Ford's Groceries. And we've got 15-minute parking in each of those places. How are people with that? Councillor Gendron?
I just have a question on that for the CAO. So going back to Schedule B, would they be required to have a Schedule B if there's regulated 15-minute parking in front of their business, and we just take 15-minute parking in front of businesses out of our bylaw altogether, and it's just an application process? Or because if signs are run over right now, we're responsible for replacing them, right?
Correct, but if you do not have that clause in the bylaw, it's not enforceable. So it also becomes as part of an enforceable, like we know, again,
Oh, okay.
I'll reiterate again,
Okay,
although
no,
that
yeah,
there are
no,
clauses in this bylaw, the appropriate steps in order for us to actually issue tickets that we're able to collect.
Yeah.
There has been change in legislation, and we're still making
Okay.
movement to make sure that we have a more enforceable bylaw, hence
Okay.
why we're reviewing this. But if you are looking at wanting to have 15-minute parking, I would assume then you are looking for consequence for longer than 15 minutes. So again, that becomes an enforcement issue. So you must include, you don't have to be specific, such as this. However, we would need a clause in reference to referencing the 15-minute parking, because your signs would have to reflect that under this bylaw in order for them to be enforceable.
So do we want to enforce 15-minute parking? Or do we want to change the signage to say courtesy parking for pizza plate? 15-minute courtesy parking for pizza plate? 15-minute courtesy parking for whatever, then...
Yeah, except a lot of the areas on this is like 15-minute parking in front of the town office. It's not courtesy necessarily, well, it's courtesy, but people need to be able to access the town office.
Yeah.
People need to be able to access the post office.
Yeah.
And so I think the town has a responsibility of making sure that there's those designated 15-minute areas.
Do we have a responsibility for a designated 15-minute area in front of a business?
So it's the two separate issues, and we're looking at what does council prefer? So in Schedule B, we're still working on that clause as to whether or not we will have, like at this point, it may make application to have a a designated parking spot for that business. When we look at having a designated parking spot for that business, I caution council strongly of looking at taking any onus of responsibility for enforcement with that business parking lot, because we are not in a position, we do not have our own private task force at this point. Like we're not that large, and so when we're looking at those, so then it comes back down to if we're looking at allowing 15-minute parking in front of a business, well, which is it? Do you want to enforce a 15-minute parking
That's right.
ban, or do you want to just permit customer parking only? That is, the onus would be on the business owner who has that designated spot to maintain and enforce.
And that's, oh, sorry, I just wasn't finished.
Go ahead, no,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. And that's what I was trying to get at in a roundabout way is they need to worry about their parking. We have enough of our own parking to worry about. And so based on what you're saying, Sharon, if I understand correctly, is this will all hash itself out when we do Schedule B. We'll make decisions at that point.
Not exactly, because these two are, like, the two clauses are very, like, conflicting in my opinion. The two clauses that you have in the existing bylaw are somewhat conflicting, because we're saying that they may make application, and then yet now you've put under a schedule. Now, is the intent, and I can't say, the only thing I could see why this is in there is the intent in Schedule C to list the applications that, or the requests that were, or agreements that were made under clause 9.6. But I, at this point, administration has not been able to locate actual agreements. We did include a couple of resolutions talking about these 15-minute parking, but I have yet to uncover any real agreement.
I think basically that this clause here, 40 Stitt and Ford's Groceries, were put in here because that's past practice. They've always had 15-minute parking in front of them. That's just always what's happened. I'm wondering whether with this clause, we should just limit this clause to the post office and in front of the municipal buildings, and any other business who wants 15-minute goes into the other clause. Councillor
Yeah,
Jarvis.
I think that's where
Yeah.
Sharon was going with this, about, because one kind of wipes out the other one. So
Yeah.
if you can't get 15-minute parking, or then just go to your own parking.
Yeah.
Because we don't put time parameters on customer parking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if we wipe out 9.6, do we wipe out 15-minute parking?
No, because the 50, if council's choosing to install, because signage, we are talking serious sign pollution right now, and I think that once we actually look at all the decisions as to what level of signage would be required, I suspect council may revisit some of the decisions that have been identified. So the clause, you wouldn't be specific in reference to location of, we would just be making reference to 15-minute parking zones,
That's right.
right? Because and then under a schedule, if we're looking at a map for controlled traffic, that would be a schedule. And therefore, a schedule to a bylaw can be amended by resolution. So you wouldn't have to have 3 readings and create a new bylaw if you determine there's additional 15-minute zones you want to implement, right? So the map is going to be significant at work for council to be looking at the streets as to how they want to designate parking, speed limits. Even though the speed limits aren't for this, would be conducive to look at it at the same time for the other bylaw. And if we have any level of specialty zones, such as 15-minute parking zones. And so once you reference the 15-minute parking zones, and then there's penalty associated, there'd be a penalty for that we make reference to, penalty associated under the enforcement bylaw, and then we would be able to change
Yep.
those fees. I know it's a bit convoluted,
Yep.
but it's really trying to add clarity to that. So I would definitely not be recommending listing
No.
the streets to your 15-minute zones. You would just reference them, and you would decide that on your map for controlled traffic.
Okay, that makes sense. Council in agreement to that?
So is council in agreement that they want 15-minute parking zones?
Yes.
So yes to yes?
I'm thinking at least for town office and post office
And the medical,
and medical.
pharmacy, medical,
Mhm.
the essentials.
Yeah. Government buildings are essential.
I just, the medical clinic or the pharmacy for run-in, because I don't think.
There should be, I think there should be at least a couple of spots designated, whether you're going to the pharmacy to pick up your prescription or you're going to the medical clinic. So that you don't end up parking over by the caboose or something and walking down it, and you shouldn't be walking at all. So,
And while I'm absolutely in agreement with that, in theory, I don't know if a 15-minute spot for an appointment at the clinic is sufficient. Unless it's deemed as a drop-off for the clinic, but absolutely 15 should do you okay for running into the pharmacy. But I don't think 15 would do you.
So we have a couple of 15 there for pharmacy, and we have a couple of patient parking only.
medical center parking only. Clinic parking only.
If I'm not mistaken, is that not the area, and maybe I might be mistaken, one of those businesses along there has parking in the back?
Yeah,
Is that where the clinic is?
yeah. but it's
So then
down
why
here
would we be
over
worrying ourselves about front parking when the clinic already has their own parking?
The staff from the plaza park there as well. Sometimes there's 5 and 6 cars in there, and you can't get any more in there.
But that's,
And they might not be associated with the medical clinic.
but the clinic, I'm not sure. I get the 15-minute for the pharmacy, a quick run-in, but I'm just not sure if a business is providing their own parking, whether we then have a responsibility to provide additional.
So what you're saying is, if the mall has access to their own parking, they could be making the decision to reserve a couple of spots saying patient parking only, and that's on them. It's not necessarily a town responsibility to reserve parking spots on the front street for patient parking only, except for the 15-minute parking for pharmacy. Is that what you're saying? Councillor Jarvis?
No, Sharon.
Oh, Sharon.
So I just trying to, because I think that we're still mixing the two
We are.
together. Like 15-minute parking is 15-minute parking, and you can designate anywhere 15-minute parking. If the intent is to have parking, say 15-minute parking for the pharmacy, then it almost, is that not then more just business parking sections, designated business parking stalls? And if they're business parking stalls, so the fear I'm having here is we're looking at having 15-minute parking. And the next big decision of council after we look at that is the level of priority with the enforcement. And so if the 15-minute parking is not going to be enforced, and we're saying 15-minute parking for pharmacy people only, that is almost impossible for a bylaw officer to look at enforcing. By the time he goes in to say, hey, whose car is, your 15 minutes is up. So if the intent is to leave stalls for specific parking for businesses, that would be part of that Schedule B. If council chooses to move forward with those designated parking stalls. But we would not then at that point be enforcing those designated parking stalls.
That's right.
So there's a difference,
Yeah.
there's a difference there.
And the
Councillor
difference
General.
being, the sign out here just says 15-minute parking. It doesn't say 15-minute parking for town business.
Correct.
And the signs in front of the post office just say 15-minute parking, doesn't say for post
Correct.
office.
That's right.
So anytime we're thinking about designating parking for a business, that's out of our hands. we're not going to be enforcing.
Correct.
If the business actually wants the 15-minute parking, they need to make application and we'll consider it.
No. The business, the application
almost
that
there.
a business would almost, so an application, a business owner can make application to have a designated parking sign for their customer parking. Because of the complexity of being able to determine in a grocery store who's parked there, it's impossible, I cannot encourage council taking ownership of enforcing customer parking. The customer-only parking is up to the particular business owner to enforce how they seem fit. The 15-minute parking is enforceable, but it has nothing to do with whether you're a customer in a place or not. It's 15 minutes is 15 minutes.
Yep.
And no business owner can make application. They may make application that they would like a designated zone being 15-minute parking, which would be for council review and consider, recognizing if they have patrons who take more than 15 minutes, they're subject to the same penalty, whether it's in front of their business or not.
Councillor Jarvis.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. We can only enforce the parking infraction, we can't enforce it on behalf of someone else.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the time and seeing it's 6:45. We still have quite a bit of the schedule to work through yet and other issues to work through. And a bit of an agenda yet. Are we wanting to put more time into this, or do we need to be carrying it over to yet another traffic meeting? What is the wish of council?
Carry it over.
Pardon me?
Carry it over.
Carry it over, Councillor Gendron?
Yeah, especially another hammer just this out at a meeting and get it finished.
Yep. Councillor
Agreed.
Gould? Councillor
Agreed.
Jarvis? Just carry it over.
To what date, please, Madam Mayor?
What dates?
28.
Oh, so at another regular meeting we want it, not a special meeting?
I think we need to have a special meeting because the kind of detail we're having to go into here, this is gonna be at least a couple of hours. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Make it a special meeting? Okay, what about the week of the 19th?
So council's aware the week of the 19th,
Right.
The finance officer would be chairing that meeting,
Uh-huh.
which is fine.
And the movie's here. Okay, never mind.
Prepping that week.
How about the week of the 26th?
Sure,
Monday
sure, can we do it at night?
at night?
Yeah, like say 6 to 7, 6 to 8, it's probably, can we do it in the morning?
We can.
The golf window is getting really small.
This is about your golf game?
Monday morning's no good for me.
How about Tuesday afternoon?
That works. Okay.
I think they're filming that day, aren't they, in Winnipeg Beach?
On the 27th?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Bring popcorn.
So road closures will be in existence, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so how about Wednesday?
That's our regular meeting.
Council meeting, how about Thursday?
Sorry, road closures, we can't walk in?
You can if you choose.
But you might want to watch it.
I'm just making
Oh.
sure that,
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that the parking will not be available on Robinson.
Okay, I'm gonna be in the city on the Tuesday until 1 o'clock. We can meet from 2 o'clock on the 27th.
Okay.
That's
2 until 4?
Till
Okay.
Boy, we don't have to have a good time.
August 27th.
This is the end of August already.
What time is that?
2 o'clock. Okay.
Okay, so be it resolved that a special meeting of council be held on Tuesday, August 27th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. to discuss a traffic bylaw.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis, could I get a seconder, please? Councillor Hool, all in favor?
No, I'd like to add a piece of that,
Please.
including the discussion, to include the discussion on the barricades, because they are not part of the traffic bylaw. Or we'll keep forgetting about it.
Okay.
Oh, so you're including the trip.
Yes,
Yes, yeah,
and the curb blocks.
yeah.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor? Carried. Okay.
Item 10.3, relocation permit.
Oh, yes.
Whereas on May 22nd, 2024, Council passed Resolution 2024-214 approving the relocation of a structure subject to a signed performance agreement. And whereas on June 12th, 2024, Council passed Resolution 2024-234 authorizing the mayor and CAO to sign said performance agreement. And whereas Section 8A requires the landowner to provide a performance deposit in the amount of $2,500 for the purpose of ensuring that all terms and provisions of the performance agreement. And whereas the requirements are to have the structure relocated to a mutually acceptable location and a mural painted or applied to the west side of the structure advertising the farmer's market. And whereas a performance agreement has not been signed, and whereas the structure has been relocated, and whereas a request to have the deposit reduced has been received, therefore be it resolved that council approve the deposit reduction to blank, and further be it resolved that council direct administration to amend the agreement with the reduced deposit amount, and further be it resolved that council set a deadline of blank for the landowner to sign the revised performance agreement.
Some long resolution.
It is.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Gendron. Seconder, please. Councillor Cool. Okay, I trust that everybody has read all the attached documentation. I am of the thinking that, given that we made the decision on May 22nd that a performance agreement needed to be signed then, and given that the performance agreement still isn't signed on August the 14th, I don't know that we should be considering a reduction in deposit. I think the $2,500 is not unreasonable. If we have to remove the structure, if the performance agreement isn't adhered to, or if we have to change the look of the structure because it's not meeting our standards, I don't want our taxpayers to have to pay for that. So my belief is that we do not reduce the deposit, and that we set a deadline of the end of this week for the landowner to sign the performance agreement. That's just my thoughts. I'd like to hear from other people. Councillor Gendron.
We have, in fact, in the past, had requests to reduce and lower deposits, and we did not entertain those requests. I think we should be applying our application to something of that significance consistently. So I don't believe either that we should be reducing the deposit. And the fact that the applicant chose to move the CCAN prior to the agreement being signed, and then using that as rationale for us lowering the deposit doesn't really carry much weight. And also the other request is, nor should the deposit of another application that we're holding have anything to do with this matter. So the things that the applicant has brought forward, I don't think are relevant. And most importantly, we have not entertained previous requests to lower deposits. And I think we need to be consistent.
Other people's thoughts?
No, I agree. I think we gotta stay consistent. Hold firm.
Good. Councillor Jarvis?
I agree as well. I don't think we should reduce it. I'm just wondering what's the deal with the virtual call thing? Or is that okay to ask?
Our CAO can respond to that. We did some
So it is prior to tenure, but from what we can determine based on the ledger system is there was a lot grade permit application that was made, and part of the lot grade bylaw requires a $1,500 deposit until that project is complete. So that permit file is still open and has not been closed. If that is, I'm waiting for confirmation to determine if that's what the person is referring to in the email. And if so, I did state that if they would like to close that permit process because they are not proceeding with it, that the deposit would be refunded. However, if at a later time another lot grade permit is required, they would be subject to the lot grade permit fee and the additional,
So she's
deposit.
keeping it open to possibly prevent a higher cost.
I can't say that. I
We can
can't-
assume that, but
I can't assume that, because I don't know the information that was relayed to the applicant at the time of making application. So they may not have been given, they may have. I can't confirm either way the information that was provided to the applicant at the time of making a lot grade application. I can only look at what the process is moving forward, where we're very clear with that process.
so we stand firm on the deposit for the CCAN, and we offer the business owner the choice to close the virtual golf.
It's a completely unrelated
I know, but-
matter, and I have extended, through administration, because it's part of the that return of the deposit or closing an application wouldn't come through council, right? Because there's a process, approval of lot grades don't come through council
Right.
either, right? We have a lot grade bylaw, we follow the process, and we proceed with that. That being said, there is, looking at if she closes the application, then therefore the refund would
Right.
be applicable.
But in fairness, one doesn't correlate to the other.
Correct, they are
Right,
completely
so I stand
separate.
firm on the original deposit.
And do and Councilor Kozlowski?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there anything on that performance agreement that states that this negotiation will not be lowered at any time or brought forward?
So the performance agreement basically states that once the conditions that were met, and the two conditions that council had in place as part of the performance agreement was that the container did need to be relocated to a mutually accepted location, which council did agree to the new location, and that a mural be painted on the west side of the container. Those were the only two conditions that were placed under that performance agreement. So once those two conditions are met, then there will be, a letter does need to be issued saying that the person has now satisfied the conditions on the performance agreement, and then therefore the reimbursement will occur.
But there is nothing on that agreement stating at this time or along whatever time frame there is that it will be lowered
No.
or
No,
higher in price?
no,
A higher price applied?
no, it's
So there's nothing.
a flat agreement.
So do you think maybe something should be added to that agreement that at no time
So-
will the agreement be lowered or price negotiated at a higher cost? This being more like a contract basis.
So council does have the option at this time, as there is no signed agreement, to revoke that approval, right? Because there was approval for the relocation of a container, and that approval was based under the zoning bylaw. And the approval had conditions as per the zoning bylaw that they had to sign a performance agreement, and that was a condition of approving the relocation of a use structure in our zoning bylaw. The performance agreement did come to council, and council did accept the performance agreement as is. So if council is looking to amend the performance agreement that was approved by resolution of council, council would need to revoke
Previous resolution.
council would need to revoke the approval of the relocation structure, and and then that process would.
So let it continue on just for maybe next time, something like this happens.
Well, it's
Something you can
completely,
bring together.
100% completely council's decision what they wanted
Yeah.
in the
And agree
agreement.
with that for this time.
Okay. What do people think about giving the applicant till the end of this week to sign the performance agreement, given that it's been on the table since May 22nd? I don't
I'm in
know.
favor.
Yeah. Council Will? Council Gendron?
What date?
End of this week?
And so Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in a hurry to get it done and then, you know, have
So
it
the
sent out.
CAO will get in contact with you?
Yep. Okay, rules of the council does not approve the deposit reduction.
So therefore, all the verbiage, therefore be it resolved that council denies the request to reduce the performance deposit, and further be it resolved that council set a deadline of like
16th?
like Friday,
August 16th.
August 16th, 4:30 p.m.
Yeah.
For the landowner to sign the existing performance agreement. And so is council saying if the performance agreement is not signed by 4:30 p.m. August 16th, that you are revoking? And so then,
So then she'll have to remove the CCAN.
and be it correct, be it further resolved. Performance agreement is not signed by said date. The relocation approval will be revoked.
Will be revoked.
Relocation approval.
And the reason why I'm suggesting that, for full disclosure, you don't kind of put a CCAN on your property and then come later and ask for permission to do that. And so that's kind of how this started. And then it feels like it's just sort of pushing the boundaries a bit. This agreement's been on the table for a couple of months. And I would look forward to working cooperatively with this person, but, you know, there's got to be some cooperation here. Councilor Gendron.
By saying the signed agreement, is it implying end deposit, or do we need to specify end deposit?
The deposit's required upon signing the agreement.
And then are we going to give a time limit if it's revoked, how long she has to remove the CCAN?
So that would be, we would, like, I would not, I caution council speculating the worst from a decision. So the decision is that at this time that the approval will be revoked, and I would be preferring that another resolution be brought forward.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, because it is part of our zoning bylaw, it is in conjunction with our planning district, because the permit that she requires, the relocation permit, is actually taken out by EIPD. It's not taken out through us as the town. So at that point, as part of the zoning bylaw, if it's now then revoked based on this resolution, I would be forwarding, like, EIPD will be in receipt of this resolution, and come the deadline date, the following Monday, they would be notified that no such agreement is in place, and so that they would take the appropriate action to have that removed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Carried.
Council request item, vacant building, item 10.4.
Can I get a mover, please?
There's a
Sorry.
resolution.
Yeah. Council, just let me get up to speed here. So council had requested update on the vacant building, and our CAO has provided a report in terms of the old credit union, in terms of where we are at with that. Does council have more questions about this?
Or direction by resolution.
Or direction by resolution? So basically, the conversion to Valley Fiber Internet is almost completed. IT support contract's been finalized, the alarm system update is complete. We don't have phone lines in there yet. There's also been no expression of interest for use of the space, although our CAO has been talking to a number of provincial government departments about renting space here. The in-house construction hasn't started or it hasn't been completed because we're looking at securing a matching grant. Are there questions, comments, or points of discussion from council in terms of this? Councillor Kozlowski.
Yeah, is there gonna be an ad put in one of the tabloids, papers, that we have this for rent? And maybe whoever wants to rent it will set it up themselves the way they want, rather than us doing something that they might not like.
By all means, what council wants to do with that is 100% fair. Initially, it was as a design. The internet is the biggest factor, that without having internet service in those spaces, it's challenging I'm for it to be rented. I can certainly place ads, many ads as council would like, if they want to provide direction as to the amount they would like to charge and what is included, what's not included, and as often as council chooses.
Yeah, I don't think we're close to, I don't think we're ready for that at this point. We don't have internet in there yet.
Okay, I don't know if we should be putting the internet in, let them do it.
It can't, because it's under our, so with the internet, we've got, council had made the decision to purchase the Valley Fiber 500 megabyte plan. The decision to make that plan was to be able to service this wing of the building under that same umbrella. So phone lines, we will not be putting phone lines in, and any separate phone lines would be the responsibility of any tenant who may want the space. However, not having internet service providers, if council wants to not have Valley Fiber service this area and make it part of the rental cost for the office space rental, we can do that. So initial conversation was looking at having that conversion into more of a business center, and there is renovation work that would be required. If we're looking for short-term rental space, and council wants an ad out for short-term rental space, then please provide direction as to how often I am making this advertisement and what the requirements are. So again, the office has not, although it is a small town, I'm not sure where we're getting outside interest in the building at this time, but certainly never say never. But in honesty, if we're looking for really moving forward and actively, my recommendation will be that council look at subcontracting an EDO, an economic development officer, to really take a good look at that building and be a salesperson. The CAO is not sales orientated and nor do I have, with the current workload that is still on that desk. Please remember, council, I have yet to have a full assistant at this point, and so all administration is falling to that one desk. That if this is a high priority item, the CAO will either that, or then I do require council to determine what workload is coming off my desk for me to take attention to this particular item. So it doesn't matter to me, but I do need direction, because I cannot be doing everything all at once. And so the items right now that I'm working towards is we're still looking at the closing of the Maple 7th and 5th. Road closures, I'm still working closely in reference to our vacant and derelict building bylaw that will require a public hearing. I'm working at the back lane situation, the non-existent back lane, and where we're going from there, and working with surveyors. I have the Stitt, or the Kernstead right-of-way that I'm currently working on. I have soon to be some other projects that, I don't have the list in front of me, but certainly I would provide council the list of the outstanding items that I have on my desk, and council is, by all means, can please prioritize what they want me to focus on and what they're willing for me not to focus on.
The questions, comments, or points of discussion about this?
So what direction, council? Like where are we at with
Councillor
this?
Chamberlain?
I thought, it's my understanding we had made an earlier decision that it would be treated as a business center and that there's work to be done before we can start advertising as a business center. And I would like to just see staff keep it going the way we had originally thought we would be dealing with it.
And Public Works, Public Works is pretty busy these days. And in the fall are going to be taking on the ditching and drainage and all those kinds of things. And when that workload slows down, then they can be spending some time focused on this. Other questions, comments? Okay, status quo. Oops.
I was trying to avoid that word, Pam.
Location agreement, be it hereby resolved, the CAO be authorized to sign the location agreement between the town of Winnipeg Beach and Scream Squad Films, Inc. for use of premises in connection with the production of Nobody 2.
Can I move her, please? Councillor Cool. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. Everybody had a chance to look at all of the material attached to Nobody 2. For everybody who doesn't know what Nobody 2 is, there is a film. Universal Studios is shooting a film called Nobody 2. I believe it's a takeoff on Nobody 1. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you read? And apparently it was, a movie that lots of people watch. I believe it's Universal Studios, so they're going to be here shooting film for a couple of days. I think it's one full day of shooting,
It is one full day of shooting.
but they're also coming to prep and do some painting and get the town ready and that sort of stuff. So there are going to be some street blockages and those kinds of things, but we've asked them to do the shooting or the filming on a Monday, Tuesday, because those are the quietest days of the week and it's not going to interfere with our businesses too much. And I think actually it's kind of exciting that Winnipeg Beach will be on the map, and I believe the storyline is something about a dad trying to reconnect with his adult kid and wants to go back to the resort that they grew up in. I don't know, I'm making this up
So it
now.
could be anybody in it.
It could be anybody in Winnipeg Beach or nobody, really. So that's what's happening, and that was just a little aside. Has everybody read all of the documentation around the location agreement?
Yes.
Any questions or comments about it? Looks like you've done a very good job, Sharon.
So this was a very unexpected, time-consuming venture, just.
Oh, yes. All in favor? Carried.
Deputy Mayor appointment.
Yeah, this has been talked about a couple of times at this table, so I'm curious and not sure why it's on the agenda again or what the question or issue is. Councillor Jarvis.
It's been on the agenda, but it's never really been discussed, and I think,
Yeah, it has been discussed. So what I had said last time was that our bylaw states that the deputy mayor is appointed the first meeting of the year, which is January 1st.
Right.
The deputy mayor is appointed as a result of a recommendation from the mayor. And the last time we talked about this, I let people know that we will be reviewing this January the 1st. And if any councillor is interested in sitting as deputy mayor, that they are to approach me not having been approached by anybody and not hearing from our deputy mayor that she is wanting to leave the position, nothing has happened because it doesn't come up for renewal until the beginning of January 2024.
Fine.
25, which is what was stated at the last
Okay,
meeting.
I apologize, I must have missed that.
Okay,
I'm familiar with the bylaw, and I saw it in there in the recommendation, I knew how it worked and functioned, and for the life of me, I could never, I fully understand now, but I can't remember ever having that information presented that way, that we come to you, and, like, you know what I mean, is that I just,
yeah.
okay.
Councillor Cole, you wanted it on the agenda?
Well, yeah, I was just curious about the date. Does it specify January 1st?
Yep, if
First-
you'll look at the attached information there, Sharon had brought this up to us June 21st, I see. Because she had consulted with the MSO in terms of how this is to be done, and that she attached the email to this item on the agenda for everybody to see. And our MSO said, at that point, first things first, since it's written that they are a regular meeting council, then the recommendation of the appointment of the deputy mayor can only be done at the first meeting. This cannot be done at any subsequent meeting until the next year. And council received this email in response at the June 26th meeting, I believe.
So it's not January 1st, it's the first regular meeting.
Right, it's not January 1st, it's the first regular meeting of January. And again, I want to reiterate, you know, if anybody's interested in sitting as deputy mayor, but I want to also let you know that there is going to be when you're sitting as deputy mayor, there's a big commitment of time. It's attending to the meetings that I'm not able to attend, it is chairing the meetings that I'm not able to chair. So if you're interested in becoming more involved and want to be sitting as deputy mayor, you can certainly be approaching me before the beginning of January. The beginning of January, we are going to be reviewing our organizational bylaws, our procedure bylaws, our code of conduct bylaws, a whole bunch of bylaws before we go into well, not before we go into the new year, because it's going to be the first meeting in January, but as we go into the new year, there's a lot of bylaws that I think we need to be reviewing. Any further question or comment? No?
No.
If anybody would like to have some practice being deputy mayor, I know we have a public hearing variation request happening on, I think it's September 11th. I don't know what the nature of the variance is, but if anybody wants to chair that meeting, you can try it out. Councillor Jenner, you already have shared those meetings, so we can't look at it that way.
I'm not looking at you because I intend to volunteer.
Okay. So you can be in touch if you're interested. Tax, anything else on that? Okay,
Item 11.1, tax overpayment refund request, roll 158200. Be it hereby resolved that council approve the overpayment refund request in the amount of $395.22 for tax roll 158200.
can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please, Councillor Kozlowski. You see there's a few items that are attached to this. And I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review them. Any questions, comments, concerns? Councillor
If
Kozlowski?
they overpaid, give them the money back.
Oh, for sure.
True, but however, it is preferable when we're looking at dealing with ledger accounts that administration get authorization to ensure that there is proper conduct in place. It's just checks and balances. If it's an admin error, those don't come to council and we can make adjustments to ledger accounts, but when it's not an administrative error, it is preferred that resolutions of council are brought forward.
Yep. All in favor? Carried.
Item 11.2, utility overpayment refund request. Be it resolved that council approve the overpayment refund request in the amount of $294.59 for utility account 6157700.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Cool. Same situation. Questions, comments, points of discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Item 11.3, whereas council received RM of Gimli bylaw 24-0007 for review and comment, and whereas council has reviewed, therefore be it resolved that council for the town of Winnipeg Beach issue the following comments. No comment.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Trust everybody's had an opportunity to review this. Any comments from anybody? No comments. All in favor? Carried.
Item 11.4, TIPS program. Be it hereby resolved, the finance officer be authorized to sign the automated funds transfer AFT service agreement between the town of Winnipeg Beach and Access Credit Union. And further be it resolved that council direct administration to create a policy for council approval prior to implementing the tax installment payment program, bracket TIPS.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. Trust everybody's had a chance to read this. It's actually, I think, quite exciting that we might get that program here. Any questions, concerns? It's pretty cool, eh? Right? Yes, Councillor Jarvis.
Was there like a $10 charge? Did I read something in there about that? There's no charge on this for tips?
There's no charge. So we don't pay, like, because we've already have access to the file, the program system.
Because historically, there's some sort of a charge usually attached to that.
Actually, so there's different ways to look at it. Some municipalities may have a charge. Other municipalities may also offer, like this is an installment payment plans in conjunction with an installment TIPS program. They actually offer a percentage payment to the residents. So
It's infinitesimal.
there's no right wrong.
No, that was just a question. I wasn't sure. I thought I'd seen something about a $10 charge for extrapolated over the payments. So I was wrong on this.
And for anybody who's not, oh yes, Councillor.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's a great program. It's a way also for the town to have money up front rather than waiting for the last day the taxes due. And the program is fun.
Yeah.
Is this going to be available? Sorry to interrupt. Is this going to be available immediately?
We're going through the process right now, and when there will be a policy that administration is going to create.
So it's prudent that we put some checks and balances in place, because right now, with the setup, there is still a level of administration work that goes within this file system. We need to ensure that although residents may be able to change their payment amount, we need to make sure that there's some checks and balances. I can't have every month someone say, oh, I only want to pay $100 this month, oh, I want $50. So there's still some when we look at these kinds of programs, I do think of the worst case scenarios, and we want to make sure that it's very clear to the resident base, the property owner base, as well as council, what this program allows and what it does not allow. And so we're just, it's very simple for the most part. It's just making sure that we have covered some of the bases for excessive amount of changeover within that file system, because once a file system's created and no changes are required, it's all of a matter of less than 5 minutes to have that processed. If, however, new files need to be created and updated, that does take additional staff time. So we want to make sure that we have some of those administrative checks and balances in place, and if in fact maybe fees associated with how many times that happens. And so we're just reviewing that right now.
Councillor
You
Kozlowski.
can also pay directly to the town, can you not, every month for your taxes?
People do have the option to pay, whether it be through their online banking or through e-transfer. This system though is not where it's property owner driven. It's where the town then now extracts from the bank account, like a pre-authorized payment with Manitoba Hydro or something. So that's the difference. The other electronic options available, it needs to be initiated by the property owner. So whether it be post-dated check, online banking, or through e-transfer, this file system we now will be entering in will now allow for, as per that agreement, for the town to extract the payment without it being customer.
Pre-authorized agreement with,
That would be what, once a month, end of the month?
So we're looking at the end of the month. Yeah.
and it would be available as soon as it's available, correct? So
It's-
for March, somebody could sign on for August 31st, 2025. Or do you have to wait till the,
So those details, that's where the policy is coming into play. This agreement is just for between the town and Access Credit Union because it's a bit of a reversal. The system we use that's affiliated with this is our CAF system, which is where we are depositing money into accounts. This is the reversal where we're extracting money from the accounts. And so this is just the agreement with Access Credit Union. And that's why that second portion of the resolution is to direct administration to create a policy for council review so that the program and how all the details of the program will be presented for council review and approval. Once that resolution has been passed, that council approves the policy, then it can be implemented immediately.
And for people who aren't familiar with the TIPS program is, it's a way of making monthly payments or having monthly debits out of your account towards your taxes. So that means we have a regular flow of money coming in throughout the year and not waiting till the end of the summer. And that means you don't get the big tax bill at the end.
exactly.
You're paying throughout the month, which I think is a pretty good program. Any further discussion on this?
Kudos to our finance officer for.
Kudos to our finance officer, Tara set this all up.
Yay, Tara.
Yay, Tara. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council for the town of Winnipeg Beach opt in to the legislation and extend protections under the Public Interest Disclosure Act, PIDA, to town employees.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Councillor Houle. Discussion? Everybody's, I'm sure, read about this. So this is basically the Whistleblower Protection Act. Any discussion? All
So,
in favor? Carried.
Item 11.6, Eco West Community Buildings Funding and EV Chargers for council discussion.
So has everybody had a chance to read all of this? Councillor
Sandra,
Gendra.
I just have a question. Is this the same as the road we went down before?
no, I don't think so.
What road?
Well,
would
when we,
that be, Council?
when we,
Sustain energy program you're talking about, right?
yeah.
No, I
where
don't think
we-
so.
Where we and then didn't decide on what package or there was, we were in
So
disagreement.
that's
on
the
what-
next item?
Oh, sorry,
That's
sorry,
okay.
okay, sorry. Rushing.
So this was just brought forward, not that there requires action of council at this point. It's just looking again at the funding source, the green funding sources. And specifically, when we look at this, the elephant is the
Rec Center.
rec center. And so looking at, recognizing at some point the green municipal building funds and these types of initiatives will end.
Yep.
That It's more just looking at, okay, these are the types of funding streams that are available. We are nowhere near looking at making application at this time, but this was put on for council consideration. There was comment in reference with EV chargers and should we be looking at installing additional EV chargers, so there is an opportunity. So it's more, at this point, I do suspect that these intakes will continue. But I am hesitant to think that they will continue past 2025.
Yeah. And we've often talked about doing some sustainable work with the rec center in terms of getting, solar paneling on the roof. And that's always been something I've talked about because that could really decrease the amount of hydro bills that we're paying, and that's a huge roof. But we can't do anything until we have a study done on the building. And so this is why EcoWest and Sustainergy sort of go together, because one is offering through FCM the study on the building so we can see what the deficits are and what would be helpful to us in terms of making it more sustainable. And the other item is the information about the grants that the federal government is currently giving in terms of some of these things. And so sometimes the grants are 50%, sometimes the grants are 80%. As Sharon said, we're nowhere close to applying for one of the federal grants, but we do have to at least get the study on the rec center done so we know where we're at. And the kind of study we need to get, that this is offering to do, is the kind of study that the federal government would need if we wanted to apply for a grant. Because the federal government grant, you can't just say, our rec center is really old and we're paying lots of money on hydros, we want solar panels. They want, what do they call it?
They want to plan and study.
Yeah, they need a study done in terms
And a
of
plan.
energy uses and a plan going forward.
It's a any federal funding is a very
Complex.
in-depth
Very
grant application and requires the appropriate amount of data to support your application or it will be rejected.
That's right.
So this will be on the table probably next year again, it'll come back to us.
I think the grant's closing.
So this intake, the EcoWest Community Buildings Funding and EV Chargers email, and just talking about the funds themselves, does have some deadlines to grant intakes. I do suspect that there will be additional grant intakes, but I caution council from deferring having
That's right.
some hard discussion as to the future of the facilities. Because although council may say yes, let's make application, there is a huge amount of work that's required for these types of funding streams.
Yeah.
And that's not something that's pulled off in 2 weeks. So with that being said, is in order for us to make a viable application, we need direction as to what are we applying for? What is the goal of the grant? What direction are we taking the building? There's been several discussions since I've been here, nothing formal, but options that have been thrown around the table is looking at combining the ice plants for both facilities in a separate, for the curling rink and the rec center in a separate building that houses both of them. There's been discussion of having a new complex altogether. There's been discussions of the building's not viable. So when we look at this, like there is a significant amount of funding right now, and anything that's done to any rec facility is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So we need to know what is the course of action. And if council needs more information to make those decisions for the course of action, then I need to know what information you're needing so we can start compiling that data for informed decision.
And this is,
The criteria for that is just overwhelming.
It is.
And the commitment to do the research to finalize the criteria is overwhelming as well.
Correct.
It's almost a 24-hour day job just to figure that out.
Yes, and so the Sustainer-G,
Which is
Is-
the next item.
the
Eco
next
budget.
item,
Eco budget.
they do a study in terms of, on our building, in terms of what pathway we can use to retrofit that building to help make it more sustainable. And at least it's a starting place of people coming in and doing a whole study on the building and saying, this is what your pathway could look like, with us at least then having some idea of what we would be getting into. And it's huge. Councillor Jarvis and then Councillor Jen.
But our commitment to that, even the Sustainer-G thing, it might not correlate with future use. So we could be investing all kinds of money, time, energy, and a portion of our money into this. And it might be a road that we don't even end up going down because of whatever the future use of the building is.
Well, the building will be used for something, unless we decide to take the
Correct, but
building
if it
down.
doesn't, if 3 years from now, we find out there's another problem with the building or something that's not related to what we're trying to do, and then the building doesn't become as useful as it was in the past, and we've committed to our portion of federal grants and so on and so forth.
Yeah, committing to Sustainer-G is not committing to anything in
Oh,
terms
I
of.
know,
On
but
the
it-
next item, that matter here.
Yeah,
Okay,
But
right.
Yeah, but my
Yeah.
point is, yeah, if we go down that road, then we've got to fully commit to that road, going green.
So there is, right, and so although we're not at that fully committed stage, however, if there is any level of renovation, restructure, and I'm throwing this out there, I mean, when we look at the type of funding that we go and the level of community involvement and engagement that's going to be required for the direction moving forward with that facility, it may be determined we want to leave it just as is, but just look at a way of reducing emissions to be compliant and have some energy saving costs. Council may, and the community, depending on how this folds out, may say, we want to create a second level that is all pickleball courts, not saying, but I'm just, so you have, as council and as the community, the direction and the future use of that building does need to be determined.
Yes.
So without having that, it ties administration's hands to be able to find funding for moving that facility for significant
That's the
funding.
point I'm trying to make.
Right, so this was brought forward just to draw to attention that this green funding has been surfacing for several years. This type of funding initiative has a way of morphing and leading, so very much like right now, looking for any kind of federal funding under the green program and looking for initiatives for sewage treatment, water treatment plant. They had run that campaign probably several years ago, so they'll run a campaign offering funding for this type of service, and either you take advantage of it or not. Right now, the push is looking at buildings, and there's a lot of support for community facilities, recreational facilities. This will run out. This will not be a guarantee. In 8 years from now, I highly doubt this funding is going to be available. And so the importance right now, because it has been around for, I'm probably saying 3 to 4 years now, I'm not certain how much longer this funding source will be available until they shift the direction of the next piece that they want to promote under green. And so that's why this was for council
But
discussion.
once it's approved, there's no going backwards.
Correct.
So if we commit to this and we get approved, you can't all of a sudden, a year and a half from now, say we changed our
But
mind.
your commitment, but the difference being is the commitment would be established with, not just, encourage not just
But
council,
again,
there's
can I-
definitely community engagement that's required, because any kind of retrofit or looking at your recreational facilities, it's huge dollars costs associated with that. And so when we look at being prudent with that, what is the need of the community? what
Oh,
are.
no, that's
right,
exactly what I'm
and-
saying.
Right.
Like, we're not busting at the seams right now with people trying to get in programs.
But at some point, correct, so what is it that we want to see out of this facility? If it's strictly just for ice surface and we're looking at downside, like, what are we doing there?
We need to establish what it is that we want.
That's.
Correct, and that's why this is for council discussion, to recognize a bit of the expediting that longer-term planning for that facility before the funding stream runs out. That's what that's from, Jim.
Councillor General,
Well, no, you led me astray, Madam Mayor, and I was thinking we were on the next agenda item, so I'll wait until we're on that agenda item, and then you can come back to me.
okay, sorry.
That's okay.
So item 11.7, Sustainergy. Be it hereby resolved that council authorize administration in conjunction with Sustainergy Group, Inc. to confirm funding eligibility for the Green Municipal Fund Study Retrofit Pathway for Municipal Buildings.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Hoare. Seconder, please. Councillor Gendron. Discussion, Councillor Gendron.
Okay, so, this is the road we went down before. Then we could not make a decision on what package we wanted, so we didn't go anywhere with it. Is that correct?
So we did make a resolution as to determining the package. There was a lot of delay with that decision, and end result is that particular application piece was just to be monitoring the panel usage, that we did miss out on that particular piece. So this new program still incorporates the sensors on the panel. However, it also now is taking it further by doing an energy efficient study as well.
So even if we don't, as Councilor Jarvis was saying, we need to sort of look down the road, even if we don't end up doing anything differently with that facility, this is still useful information because we don't know how long we can continue to sustain those hydro costs if we're dealing with that building or the curling club. This will at least be useful information, if for nothing else, than us to be looking at going to solar panels if we get to that point in order to reduce costs. Correct? Okay.
I would like to suggest, however, at the same time, if we go forward with this, at the same time that this council starts getting our head around the future use of the rec center and ways of involving the community in that conversation. And it can't just be a public forum, how many people want this. It really has to be an endeavor. So I would like council to start thinking about it, thinking about ways that we can do it, and I would like to put it on the agenda for some discussion to we need to have a full discussion about the future of the rec center.
And yeah, and my point was that even if all that happens and we decide we're not changing anything, doing this piece is not a waste.
No, it's not.
Because it is useful information, if for nothing else, trying to look at alternate power source for the building, because the hydro bills are ridiculous. The hydro bills are going to take the curling club under before much longer if it keeps getting worse and worse. So we're not wasting time, dollars, effort, because it is useful information for even the smallest of things, which is solar panel.
Yep.
Okay.
Councillor Jarvis.
Yeah, this is just basically an energy audit, right? And he's gonna, like, we might not be losing any money. We might be just where we need to be, and that could be the result of this guy. And I'm in favor of doing the audit. Did he give us any concept of what the grants are available? I didn't see anything in the,
So, yeah, so it was.
he just wants to know if we're interested.
He's looking to see that we're interested, because so again, it's one section under like the Green Municipal, through FCM and the Green Municipal Fund, there's several layers of funding sources. And so this funding source is specifically just Green Municipal Fund study. That's, so we're not, there's still other funding resources available. And so when we look at that, we may not, when we submit application, we may not be eligible, right? So this is just to confirm eligibility, and once we start looking through that, we would then know what the next phase is as to costs
We would decide
associated
what
with
package we
it.
want,
Correct.
so I'm in favor.
Any further,
So-
Sharon?
Yeah, so it just, looking at, I've been hearing curling club and community center. Does council want the resolution to say, to confirm funding eligibility for the Green Municipal Fund Study retrofit pathway for the municipal buildings for the community center and curling club? Is that
I would go curling club and community
two?
center.
Okay,
I don't think we're needed for any other buildings.
No.
okay. Both,
Okay,
okay.
both,
All in favor?
all in favor? Carried.
Okay.
Always nice when that fan turns off.
So item 11.8, there is additional information in council package in regards to an offer to purchase a small strip of town-owned property. And so upon looking at and investigating this small strip, the CAO report, which is yet to be attached, states that Public Works has reviewed that there is no infrastructure lines in there. The title has been pulled for, the status of title has been obtained for the town-owned property. There are no easements or right-of-ways registered to that property. However, looking at the two properties on either side of that little strip, the CEO is of the belief that for whatever reason, the opposite side of the property, not the people who are interested in purchasing it, the opposite side of the opposite side property, it looks as though they've gifted us that strip. And I have not at this point been able to determine why. But looking at all of the frontages of all of the properties on Alder, they seem to be very consistent with 75-foot frontages. The property on the west side of our little strip, our 9-foot strip, their frontage is reduced to 66. So it's very logical that our 9 feet we've taken or they've gifted to the town from the opposite property owner. And so there's options available to council. So recognizing that that parcel of land did come from the other roll number, in fairness, if we are divesting ourselves from that strip of land, it would seem that we would have an offer, a first right of refusal to the property that we've actually extrapolated that strip from. Now, I don't know if council has any background on this. This did occur in 2003, and the only reason I am able to know that is a new roll number was created for our little strip, and that was created in 2003. So I don't know what the intent is, why either the town wanted it or the other property owner didn't want it. I don't know what happened there.
Discussion, Councilor?
Yeah, just a question, do we by chance know if roll number 112300 is still owned by the same family that owned it in 2003?
I would have to look into that. I think I do have, I mean, not necessarily public information, so I wouldn't have placed that on the agenda, but let me take a look.
Yeah, so just my thought on that is, and that is one of the things I thought of when I looked at this was, it's bordering two people. I'm not necessarily in agreement that we jump to the individual that requested it. And absolutely, if it came from 112300.
So it does look like the last sale history for roll 112-300 was December 15th, 1998.
So it is still,
So it very much could still be the same.
family who may have the history for us on what transpired.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have not reached out, the
No.
request
No.
came forward from Roll 112-190, and that's what was presented to council. It's just going through researching and trying to data collect to see if there is any concerns for council. And the only one at this point is the fact that it appears that we have taken it from the opposite property owner.
So at this point, next step, would the CAO be able to reach out to the property owner and see if they have any history for us to share?
I can, it's whatever direction of council, and that's where the options were to move forward, to offer first right of refusal, or to table for more information.
Folks?
I table the
Table.
resolution. Yeah. Get more information.
Okay, and so, okay,
Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
It's just so interesting, eh, this 9-foot piece of land.
Yeah.
Christ.
It's weird.
It is.
it is,
I mean, who knows what the
And
town
it's
is.
sandwiched.
Were they planning to put a sewer line down there?
I don't know. I-
9 feet
I
wide
checked
enough.
with Joe too, see if it was a drainage issue or something. Come up with anything, there's nothing in the area, there's no infrastructure at all.
Okay.
Yeah,
but I'm just gonna have, so
okay.
directions clear, is that aside from contacting the property owner of 112-300, is there any other direction from council?
And I guess if, in discussion with them, letting them know that this has come up by the other property owner, would they, if it goes that way, are they even interested in purchasing it back, covered with all the costs that are required to be covered?
Yeah.
Because if they're not, then that's the end of it, and
I would like to find out actually the history. If the town just came and said, we need to take this 9 feet and didn't buy it from them and just took it, then like, give it back.
Well, how did we get to the gifted part?
I don't
don't know.
know.
Yeah, like it seems, they may, on both sides, it's like we're in the middle, unless I'm wrong.
It looks like at 9 feet, it looks like
Like how did,
in his history, but which doesn't make sense when I'm looking at the rest of the map. Something like 9 feet wide is normally either expropriated or gifted because there's a need to have a public walking path. It's not for road, like
I
that's,
should table.
so that's the only, right. So the only thing, Councillor, is I'm not comfortable having a verbal dialogue only. If council's looking at saying, we want to offer that property first right of refusal, it still needs to be done through written correspondence so that there is written record of the transaction that's occurred.
Okay, and
So
I-
although I may have that conversation, it's still a decision of council. I have not been given directive of council at this point to offer them that.
no, and
So-
what, and sorry, let me clarify that, Sharon. What I'm saying is just explaining that we have had somebody approach us about purchasing this. We have decisions to make. One of the things that we would like to know before making those decisions is, are you even interested in this? Do you want to be included in the discussion going further? If they say no, they're not interested in purchasing it, then you can do something in writing with them, just confirming it, and then we can go along with making our decision
I
based on.
would
the
still need
zoning.
resolution of council to issue that letter.
Okay.
Right, like I
Okay.
need, like, when we look at these things, a lot of the problems or obstacles we're facing is that there's not written documentation on file. And
Okay.
so recognizing the complications that's come over the last 18 months, it's imprudent that we improve on that and that we start setting a process in place that administration does not just have free rein to have dialogue or issue letters when these are issues that are decisions of council,
Okay.
because there's nothing, what was the authority for that letter to be issued, right?
Okay.
Like that. So at this point, I'm looking at contacting the property owner of 11-2-300 to request background information. Anything else?
And
aside
do we
from-
also want to give Sharon permission to offer first right of refusal?
What's the CAO recommend?
Well, and sorry, that's kind of what I was trying to
I
get at with
understand
what I was saying was, are they interested in the property or do we, and so I guess the formal way to be doing it is authorizing her to give them first right of refusal. So, yes,
Yes,
Yes, you want?
yes, first
Okay.
right of refusal.
if that was in fact their property.
Be it resolved that council direct administration to contact the property owner 112-300 for first right approval and to obtain okay. I would need a mover and
Need a mover, please. Councillor Jarvis. Seconded, Councillor Kozlowski. All in favor? Carried.
be it resolved that council approve Councillor Gendron to attend the Red River Basin Commission North Chapter meeting being held in the Arm of St. Clements on September 9th, 2024, with no registration fee, out-of-pocket expenses, and travel per diem are applicable. And further be it resolved that council approve Councillor Gendron to attend the 42nd Annual RRBC International Summit Conference being held in Grand Forks on January 14th to the 16th, 2025, at a cost of $400 plus applicable taxes, out-of-pocket expenses, and travel per diem.
Need a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. A seconder, please? Councillor Kozlowski. Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council approve the rec manager to attend the Rural Recreation Summit being held in Dauphin on October 2nd to the 3rd, 2024, at a cost of $200 plus applicable taxes, out-of-pocket expenses, and travel per diem.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, please? Councillor Gendron. Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council authorize the payment for the entry fee in the amount of $250 for the town employee team in support of the 2024 Fire Truck Pull fundraiser event.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Cool. Seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski. Discussion. Councillor Gendron.
I would just like to congratulate them. Apparently they beat the fire department, so congratulations to the
Yeah, they have that truck rolling down
town
Main
team
Street.
that, yeah.
They did. Other discussion, Councillor
Yeah, it's a
Kozlowski.
great way also to support the bird unit as well. Okay, that's our contribution.
Absolutely. Other discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Item 11.12. Whereas Council Resolution 2024-202 authorized the mayor and CAO to sign a lease agreement between the town of Winnipeg Beach and the food cupboard. And whereas the individual listed on the lease agreement as the leasee is no longer the primary contact. And whereas another individual has committed to reinstating the food cupboard initiative. Therefore, be it resolved that council terminate the initial lease agreement for the period June 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. And further be it resolved that council authorize the mayor and CAO to sign a new lease agreement between the town of Winnipeg Beach and the food cupboard for a 1-year period beginning on August 15th, 2024.
Need a mover, please. Councillor Houle. Seconder, please. Councillor Jen. I just want to say, our community has really stepped up, eh? It was really sad seeing that food cupboard closed. And that new folks have stepped up, and my understanding is 3 different sets of folks stepped up to take over the food cupboard, which is wonderful. It warms my heart, and we've put those 3 sets of folks in touch with each other, and they're working together as a team to support each other and do this like a committee and out of the goodness of their heart. So thank you very much. I think that's a fabulous thing that's happening here in Winnipeg Beach. Other discussion by other councillors,
Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
right?
I'm so happy you came back. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And people just volunteering their time to, do the right thing. So that's great, thank you.
So the agreement will stay very standard. The only items that will change is the date and then the period of the rental for a 1-year period, August 15th of 24 to August 15th of 25.
Councillor Jen.
Yeah, I noticed that in the email request, was there an indication of the days they wanted to be open?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that would,
Okay.
yes,
3 days.
that's highlighted as
Okay.
well for it to be revised. And so as long as there's no council objection to that, those changes, then we can proceed.
So it'll be open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 9 till 6. Brilliant. All in favor? Carried with many thanks.
Additions, EV charger report, no decision of council for information only. If there's any questions.
I understand people were interested in looking at the report. There's the report so far.
Yeah, my only question was, as long as we're not losing money. Yeah. Well, we're getting better usage now. I saw it breaking even at least. I think we made $6, right? So
So overall.
we're not here to rip people up, but at the same time, we're certainly not here to charge the cars for free.
So overall, the reality of this is Manitoba Hydro, there is a monthly flat fee charge.
And we haven't met that yet.
And so for months prior to it really being initiated and marketing, although the power was there and yet there was still issues with service, we still were things. So for 2024, I do not expect to see any significant profit. That being said, moving forward in 25, having more recognition, we see a huge increase of what's happened over the months.
I see every day somebody's pumped
Yeah.
in. But, and it
So,
may be because
yet to be
it's the
determined.
summer and they're coming here.
Yep.
Yeah, we could have a complete drop off in January and February, but the ambition is to not lose money.
Correct, and so what's happened and recognizing, when looking at other funding opportunities and maybe the possibility to have additional chargers, I have set up a report template and with a instruction sheet, so whether or not I'm here or that this report can be filled out very seamlessly, so it's not so daunting to be able to provide with every hydro bill, the period of the hydro bill, the period of usage on this report, so that we can start looking at going forward through the years.
No,
if
I know, it's just that we had committed, previous to this council, committed to the chargers, and we couldn't get out of the grant, so.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, well,
Oh, sorry.
what was the cost again per hour? Is it $2?
So right now it's $2 per hour, yes.
Okay.
And so looking at that, and again, it's challenging until we go through a period of time to look at the usage to find out if it's adequate or not. What we will want to start doing is looking at that increased time, and if there is very lull periods, we need to be incorporating that monthly cost for the hydro, and ensure that our high peak times are charging enough to cover those costs of those low peak times. But until we go through a full year of it and functioning, it's difficult to say if the current rate at $2 is meeting the need or not.
Right. Other questions? Okay,
Addition tax overpayment refund request. Be it hereby resolved that council approve the overpayment refund request in the amount of $83 for tax roll 161500.
mover please. Councillor Jarvis. Seconder please. Councillor Gendron. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Yeah, no, that's not there. That's just an oops.
We are
At 13.
at 13.7.
Yeah.
Be it resolved that council accept the committee reports as presented.
Mover please, Councillor Jarvis. Seconder please, Councillor Hu. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to read all the committee reports. You see that Destination Winnipeg Beach has their new logo that the committee's decided on
I like it.
with the train. Councillor Jarvis.
I saw the image on the merchandise, and how's this merchandise being promoted, or did I miss something on that?
No idea.
That was just a sample, just to show what it would
Oh,
look like.
okay, so the
as-
logo.
Yeah, just
Okay.
down.
I wasn't sure if it was like swag, we didn't know.
No, there's
Okay.
been nothing at this time.
Because I wanted one, that's all.
Because you wanted one? Is that what you said?
No, I'm kidding, okay, I'm kidding.
All in favor? Carried.
Item 14.1, roundtable discussions.
Roundtable discussion. Anybody have anything from the last couple of weeks that you'd like to discuss?
Oh, no.
Yes, Councillor Jarvis.
No, I'm on the committees, no, sorry. Jumped again.
Yeah, I would imagine there's not been a lot of committees this summer.
No.
Councillor Gendron. Wow.
So I sit on the IPD with the mayor.
Right.
We had a zoning variance request at the July 31st meeting of the council, and there were some things said at the meeting and in the following days, both verbally to me and on social media platforms, that brought into question the integrity of EIPD's processes. So as a town rep for EIPD, I think it's important that this be addressed. Who the original complainant was not, and is never disclosed by EIPD, not in the public package or to the town, RM, or city that is hearing the variance request. The package provided to the town by EIPD and to the public only includes submissions of support or objection to the variance request that have been submitted in response to that request. People need to know that they can raise their concerns to EIPD confidentially and that it will remain confidential throughout the entire process. The other issue was that one of the people speaking in opposition to the request stated that he was asked by EIPD to take pictures of the property. This was also brought into question on a social platform regarding the conduct of EIPD with making that request. I would like to make it very clear that EIPD did not ask for the pictures and would never ask a third party to supply them with pictures. So I am raising this because something that occurred at our meeting was calling the integrity of EIPD into question when they were not factual comments being made.
Thank you. Questions about that? No? Other things to discuss about any committees? No? Other
Summertime,
I
everything.
know everybody's
Yeah,
taking a
we
break.
don't get going till the following, till
Yeah.
September.
Yeah, we're in Puddle Beach.
I do have a question for Councillor Kozlowski. Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but there'd been talk with Evergreen Basic Needs about doing remote deliveries.
Yeah, I brought that up, I
Is
believe,
that
and
still, are they still going to be?
that was a trial basis, they were doing that.
So you're not sure yet whether
Yeah,
they're gonna?
the summertime wasn't very busy because people are walking there,
Yeah.
bringing bicycles
Yeah.
there. Wintertime will be a little bit busier because of the snow and that, and I would imagine that, again, I don't know for sure, but I would think that they'd get 200.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question for you, Councillor Gendron. Are you on Eastern Interlake Watershed District?
I am. You are still sitting on that committee though. You had expressed that you wanted to stay on that working group.
The working group is meeting on the 19th.
Yes.
But I was just looking at E EIWD.
Yes, those are board meetings. I'm not actually a board member.
I see.
That's
Okay.
why I'm not on any of those or have nothing to report back on any of that.
Okay, so is there anything about what's been happening in E EIWD that you're aware of that I should be aware of before I go to the August 19th meeting?
No, that is a working group and dealing with just the issues that working group is
At
dealing
Netley
with.
Creek.
Yeah,
And
nothing
Beaver
else.
Creek. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Councillor Jarvis,
They had spoken about the Manitoba Hydro thing and the transformers. Is this something that you want me to?
this would be something to bring forward now,
Okay,
yes.
that we need to have it's been brought to my attention about, we have a couple of outdated transformers, and we had trouble with one of these transformers on a hydro pole in town about 7 or 8 years ago, and the ceramic or porcelain insulators cracked, lines fell down, they were alive, so on and so forth. Anyways, it was brought to my attention from a retired hydro worker that some of these, there's two in particular that are completely outdated. And his suggestion was that I contact Manitoba Hydro and set up a meeting with Hydro to come out and have a look at a few, and I've expressed concerns even as a councillor on a couple of these things. And just have a quick 2-hour tour with these guys to have a look at some of these, because some of them are outdated and they should be replaced. So we need, I guess a resolution would be needed for me to be able to contact Hydro, and maybe including, and I am on the chair of the safety committee, and maybe because Councillor Hill is a licensed electrician, that he should be there as well, because he probably knows more of the terminology than I do.
Councillor Houle, you're a licensed electrician? I didn't know that. Okay.
So, and he's on public works, so I know we've had situations in the past, two that I know have been, one started a fire, and one just live wires are across the laneway.
Yeah, and that one you were showing me in the back lane, if that goes down, then we're...
Well, if that one goes down, it was explained to me that they have to take out like 24, because of the PCBs and that in some of these, that you can't, the soil itself becomes toxic. As soon as the PCBs are released, the heavy oil is released, that you gotta start digging up soil and taking that out.
And we've got this pole here that, lots of
Yeah,
people...
well, the poles, if they don't have transformers on them, it falls down.
And the one across there that's...
Yeah, the
rusty.
one on Chestnut, there are a few that are outdated. His guess was the one that I was looking at was in the 50s, so this thing is like 75 years old. It is even rated.
So this would be about going around town and checking it all out.
Yeah, and I know we're on camera, so if anybody has, like a concern with a transformer maybe close to their property, contact me, and I'll set up a meeting with Hydro, because some of this stuff is really dangerous.
Yep, for sure.
So if I may pass a resolution to that effect, be it hereby resolved that council authorize Councillor Jarvis and Councillor Houle to meet with Manitoba Hydro to discuss the outdated transformers located within the town of Winnipeg Beach.
Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Gendron, seconder, please. Councillor Kozlowski, all in favor? Carried. Good, thank you. Okay, anything else for roundtable? Yes, Councillor
I'd just
Kozlowski.
like to thank the Lions Club for their great race. They had 32 teams involved, with over 100 people participating in the great race, all the way from Matlock, all the way to Sandy Hook. It was a great day, it was a wonderful day. I'm sure next year it'll be even bigger, but
Wonderful.
so I'd like to thank all those that were involved with that.
Yeah, congratulations, Lions. Thank you. Okay, resolution for committee meeting.
Be it hereby resolved that council approves the committee, or council committee and board reports as presented.
Can I get a mover, please? Kozlowski. Can I get a seconder, please? Councilor Jarvis. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that that the correspondence be accepted as circulated.
Thank you, Councilor Jarvis. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councilor Hall. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council moves in camera at 8:14 to discuss personnel matters, and be it further resolved that any matters discussed while in camera be held confidential until such time as discussed in open council.
Can I get a mover, please? Councilor Jarvis. Can I get a seconder, please? Councilor Gendron. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much for coming, folks.
All right. You're good to go.
Be it hereby resolved that council moves out of camera at 8:24 p.m. and resumes the regular meeting of council.
Mover, please, Councillor Jarvis. Seconder, Councillor Kozlowski. All in favor? Carried.
Be it hereby resolved that council adjourns the August 14th, 2024 regular meeting at 8:24 p.m.
Mover, please, Councillor Hu, thank you. Councillor Seconder, Jarvis.